Good evening, everyone. I greet you and I welcome you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Tonight, I would like to share with you on the topic of how to overcome masturbation. And just in case you're new or you have not subscribed, please go down and click on the word subscribe and wait for a few seconds. The bell button will show up, and then you also tap on it, you hint on it, so that you can be notified every time I post a video on the channel. So we want to talk about how to overcome the addiction of masturbation. And I just want to use two scriptures. And the first one is from Genesis chapter 3, which speaks to us about the fall of man. And understanding this passage will help us to understand actually how masturbation gets to us, and also gives us a remedy of how to overcome it. And when I read from Genesis chapter 3, and I want to read verse 6, it says that the woman saw that the tree was good to eat and pleasing to the eye, and that it was enticing for the wisdom that it could give. So she took some of its fruit and ate it. And this is the word of the Lord. Some translations actually say, the woman saw that the fruit was good. She thought how good it would be to eat it, and she desired and ate of it. And I just want to expound on just these three things. One, from this passage, we see how sin was conceived into the life of Eve. And the very first thing was the temptation by the devil. The temptation by the devil. So loneliness. Eve was alone. She was not with Adam. She was alone. And in that area, when you're alone, that moment when you're alone, the devil comes and he speaks. That is the temptation. So one of the very first ways of overcoming masturbation is to avoid loneliness. Don't be lonely. You might be alone, but don't be lonely. Be active. Do something. Have a hobby. Do some work. Be in the company of friends who can build you up. So the devil speaks, and then what does the Bible say? The woman saw. She saw. And honestly speaking, there are certain sins that we would not have committed if we had not seen certain things. So the very first door through which sin is conceived into our life, it is through the senses. It is by seeing something, by hearing something, by tasting something, by touching something. And when we can avoid seeing or hearing or touching or tasting something, we have a high chance of stopping that sin from coming into our heart. And in the sight, she saw the fruit, and she thought, oh, how good it is to eat of it. So when you don't see something, you are likely not to conceive the sin. Now, in this case of masturbation, if you can, as far as possible, and if you can try not to watch pornography, not to read pornographic literature, not to be involved in conversations that will fire up sexual feelings, then there is a greater chance that you're not going to fall into masturbation. So the first way of overcoming the practice of masturbation is by shutting it from your senses. Instead of seeing something, don't see it. Instead of hearing something, don't hear. Instead of touching something, don't touch. Instead of tasting something, don't taste. And through that, we overcome. It's the most effective, it's the most effective uh, uh, most effective area in which we can overcome, we can stop. Actually, this one is to stop. We can stop ourselves from entering the practice of masturbation. So if you see pornography, you are inviting masturbation. But if you don't see, if Eve did not see the fruit at the word of the devil, she was not going to pluck of it. Now, other translations say that the woman saw and she thought, she thought, she thought, she thought, she thought how good it is to eat of it. She thought. The second level of temptation is in the mind. The first is through the senses. Once the senses cannot prevent, once you are unable to cut the temptation right from the senses, okay, you have seen already, you have heard already, or you have touched, you've tested already. The second stage is the mind. The mind begins to interpret, the mind begins to imagine. Now, if you can control it from corrupting your mind, it is not going to be conceived into your life. This is why St. Paul speaks in Romans chapter 12, verse 2. It should be verse 2, yes. Let me confirm that so that we read it. Romans chapter 12, verse 2, where St. Paul writes and says that be transformed. This is chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. Okay. This is what he says. Do not model your behavior on the contemporary world, but let the renewal of your minds transform you, so that you may discern for yourselves what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and mature. Some translations say, be transformed by the renewal of your mind. That means transformed. The Greek word used to mean transform in that particular verse is equivalent to metamorphose. Be metamorphosed by the renewal of your mind. Be metamorphosed by the renewal of your mind. We all know what metamorphosis is. It's in that circle of butterfly, from egg to larva, pupa, and butterfly. You know, it is metamorphosis, that circle. Metamorphosis, be metamorphosed, meaning that it is a complete change of nature. A complete change of nature. Be metamorphosed by the renewal of your mind. That means that when you think positive, there is going to be a transformation of positivity within you. When you think negative, there's going to be a transformation of negativity within you. When you think sex, you are going to have a life of sexual immorality. But once it comes in your mind and you fix, I will not do this, 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 I will not do this. The mind is renewed. The mind is, you are transformed. Once you fix in your mind, I'm not doing this, you're transformed. If you fix in your mind, I'm going to do this, you're transformed. So the second, and this is a very powerful thing, the mind. Once you change your mind, your life changes. Change in mind leads to change in life. This is why Paul says that be transformed, be metamorphosed by the renewal of your mind. So if you do not think in your mind that I want to masturbate, I want to masturbate, I want to masturbate, I want to masturbate, I'm going to masturbate, I'm going to masturbate, the body will not be directed towards masturbation. But if you think, I need to masturbate, I need to masturbate, I need pleasure, I need pleasure, I need pleasure, your body is going to align towards that. And before you know it, you're already into masturbation. And from Genesis, we're still on Genesis, it continued and went and said that Eve desired of it. Now, after once temptation has passed the senses, it has gone to the mind, you have analyzed, and you have thought it is good. Now it goes to the heart, you desire it. And once it's already in the heart, it becomes almost impossible to do away with the temptation. So, the best way of overcoming masturbation is stop the temptation from accessing the senses. Don't watch, don't see, don't hear. And if that has not uh, helped you, the mind is a powerful thing. It can transform our lives, it can metamorphose us. So once you fix in your mind, I am not going to do this, you will not do it. By the renewal of your mind. Renewal means that you renew your mind again and again and again and again. Doesn't mean that today if I say I'm not going to commit masturbation and tomorrow I commit, the renewal of my mind has failed. It is renewal, which means make it new again and again and again and again until there is a transformation in your life. Thank you very much for listening, and I want to pray that God will break addiction of masturbation in your life. And I want to pray that you'll be strong in the mind, and that you'll grow in great faith. I want to pray that the grace of God will guide you, and the grace of God will help you and lift you out of the torment of the addiction of masturbation. Thank you, and God bless you all.